Hello and welcome to Alice's Garden to Plate. I help the garden community by sharing my knowledge on garden planting, preserving methods, and recipes to eliminate the overwhelm of it all. In today's episode, I'm going to be making a fresh sauce with fresh ingredients from the harvest. I share my recipes for a reason. I like to utilize fresh items from the harvest and preserved. That way I can utilize it year round. I plan my garden from my recipes. That is why I like to share them with you. In today's sauce, I am utilizing heirloom tomatoes and a paste variety that's called Roma. And to give it a little bit of spice, but yet mellow, I am going to do a shallot. I've already cut up the shallot. Got it all ready. Put it in my casserole dish because I'm oven roasting the tomatoes to really get good flavor profile. This is minced garlic, 1 tablespoon. This is one of the heirloom tomatoes. Look at that beautiful dark color on top. So what you want to cut out of a tomato is this part right here. That is the core. The reason you want to cut it out is because it adds an odd texture to your sauce. It is not a bittering thing, nothing like that. It is a texture quality to your sauce. So eliminate that, get it out of there. That easy to remove the core. So when I go through, I just literally cut this as chunks. Nothing too important. Doesn't have to be chef skills right here. Just cut it up. Take your tomato, backup knife for safety. This is a food mover, is what I call it. Notice how there's a lot more flesh compared to like a lot more water on this one. So that's why they call it a paste variety, because it's going to be thicker. So I just remove that core out of there. Don't want that texture. And do the same thing where I just cut it into chunks.
A simple way to flavor your sauce is just by adding minced garlic, doing a fresh grind of peppercorns, red pepper flake to add a little bit of spice and complexity. Add Celtic Salt to your sauce. It will help release the liquids out of the tomatoes and lower sodium and high mineral content, so the flavor profile is excellent, way better than your standard table salt.
Have you ever looked at the ball recipes in the blue book and it says to remove the skins and you're always like, why? Why do I need to do that? The reason is texture. You're gonna have a much more silky sauce if you remove the skins. The other thing too is not everyone can process the skins very well, so that's why Ball and the safe certified recipes will have it that way. I personally don't have a problem processing the sauce with the tomato skins in it. Being that I'm gonna keep it fresh and keep it hot, and I'm not gonna make it shelf stable, I'm not worried about this. This is a fresh sauce recipe. The other thing too, the reason the skin is not fully attached to the fruit that's inside of the tomato. What happens is if you don't remove the skin and you just puree it, you got little tiny space air gaps where pathogens can lie. And that's why when you can and you process, it's going to eliminate all that by removing the skin, and no one has tummy problems because they can't process it. It makes it a universal sauce for everyone. But being that I'm making a fresh sauce and I know that works for my household, do what is best with your household.
Pour some extra virgin olive oil over your vegetables and mix till well combined. In a preheated oven that is 350 degrees, roast the vegetables for 15 minutes. Take out, mix well, put back in for another 15 minutes till it is well roasted.
As you can see, there's a lot more liquids now. That means my tomatoes have broken down. And if you notice, compared to when they were raw, they're a lot more softer looking. So this is the ideal texture that I'm looking for. This is a blender. It is a Vitamix blender. It is one of the very few blenders that can actually handle heat. and process and not have a problem. So this is, I'm going to put it in. I'm only going to fill it up to about here, so that way it has headroom to move around.
The sauce will have an orange color due to the fact that you roasted the vegetables prior, but it's so worth it because the flavor profile will be much higher due to the roasting.
Tomato sauce can have some bitterness to it or too much of a tartness for some palates. In order to combat that, I like using what is called date sugar. Date sugar is actually lower on the glycemic. All you need is 1 small spoonful and it will combat that. Being that this is very runny in sauce at this point, and to add flavor depth, I'm going to use a spoonful of tomato paste. I will cook this until I get a sauce consistency that I'm happy with. This seems thick right now, but within an hour it's going to be really liquidy. So I go between 4 to 8 hours to cook down a sauce to get the consistency that I like.
Within the last half hour of your cooking, add in a little bit of Celtic Salt to bring everything forward and your fresh basil. By adding it in the last half hour, the basil will be more potent and it won't cause any off flavors by bittering it.
If you enjoyed today's episode, click that like button so therefore the algorithm will work in your favor. By subscribing to the channel, you will be notified of new content. Thank you for viewing.